right?
So then we're also
Perfect.
talking. Okay, so the problem with that is you're trying to use that as a defense for your God, which doesn't work either, due to the fact that
Wait,
all these things are
just
based.
defending the analogy.
Pardon?
I was just defending the analogy as representing the difference between science, which is an epistemological, very material, right, and other forms of knowledge, right? Like
Uh-huh.
history, you could go, oh, you can't prove scientifically history, and you're like, that is correct. You can't prove scientifically history. You can't reenact a war, right? We can't reenact an event in history and go, like, does it
Well,
scientifically check out?
okay,
Right?
but
We
we
have to
have
use
evidence, right? We have
witness.
evidence of these things happening.
Evidence is correct. Evidence is not the same as proof. Yeah, we have evidence for God, right, which can satisfy our
No,
understanding of it. We
wait.
have
Okay,
evidence in
wait.
history,
What?
which can satisfy, and we can have evidence in science,
Wait 1 second.
which supports a theory.
Okay,
Okay.
so I'm sorry, but I've never seen evidence of any God on this planet. Have you?
I love people.
What does that have to do with it?
Well, we go, where does this idea of love come from? Where does this understanding of morality,
Very
good and
simple.
evil?
It's a very simple
This is not
concept.
saying.
It,
Oof,
it's
based.
okay. Hold on,
So simple.
let me just finish my sentence. It's a very simple concept where we learned where love comes from, right? We learned this as humanity developed.
You were
Why
going
did
to
I
say
air quotes
children,
that?
then, weren't
But
you?
how humanity developed in one sense, were dependent on each other, and caring for each other became a necessity to allow us to continue evolving and staying safe and all that kind of stuff. So it's a development as we progress through time. That's where love comes from,
So
and
you'd
all
say
these.
love is a much higher, has much higher evolutionary benefits than, let's say a crab casting its million eggs into the sea, and then leaving them off. Like, there's not much love there. But there was a lot of evolutionary advantage. But you'll go, no, love as we experience it as
Uh,
humans, how far do you want to go down? How far do you want to go down before you're going, I'm not sure if it's what I would say is love anymore?
well,
Foxes, you see a male and female fox, you're like, yeah, I can see love. You see a pheasant standing and starving to death by its dead partner, and you're like, that's kind of like love, but then you see, like, a lizard eating its children, and you're like, I don't think that's love. So
okay,
where did love emerge? What was its evolutionary
benefits.
backing? How can you
Well,
show that love is clearly an evolutionary advantageous process? And if it is, why is it so uncommon in
okay,
life
so
compared to?
we can just go back with, if you want to go back really far. Okay, so the thing about it is, as humans were developing from primates and all that kind of stuff, bonding and getting together in little huts and all that kind of stuff, it proved an evolutionary thing due to the fact that you wanted the individuals to stay together. So it created it creates a bond between them, right? And due to the fact that humans were and are still the weakest things on the planet, technically it's very advantageous to us to continuously have that bond always developing as we progress with the next generation and all
You
that kind of
think
stuff.
humans are the weakest? I think we're the most dangerous animal on Earth. We're the most
No. Okay.
potentially dominant. I mean,
No.
everything
That's a
goes
very
is dominant over nature.
that's a very biased
I mean, I
view.
can't personally take on a brown bear, and you just go, oh, can you win a brown grizzly bear in an arm wrestle? You're like, no, right? Chimpanzees are like many times stronger than humans in muscle density, but
Yeah,
I
that's
think
hence the
that
reason
is
why.
such a, but that doesn't make us feeble and weak.
Oh, it does.
Um,
Okay, so if you take away the ability for humanity to create weapons, then you do not
yeah,
stand a chance versus the environment. If you cannot
yeah,
have
but then we'd
shelter,
probably be big hulking monkeys because we didn't have a brain. Like, the body doesn't invest in unnecessary requirements. Now, if I've got a brain, I don't need to put all this energy into high muscle mass and aggression. So you're going, a human without the ability to make weapons is not a human, because it's obviously not got a brain. It doesn't think at high levels of intention and has unbelievable capacity for creativity and problem solving. All
But
these
that
things would
doesn't
go
prove that
once you say,
humans. It still doesn't prove that humans aren't weak. It just shows that humans have developed brains, but it doesn't prove that humans aren't weak.
oh, we're just incredibly strong, but we've transcended the need of strength to be solely through physical strength. You know, even like the male-female cultural battle that we've got going on now, we wouldn't want to say in that simple term, I am stronger than you, therefore I am better than you. You'd be like, I don't
True.
think that's going to work.
Okay, so yet again, it's very odd. So the thing about it, yet again, humans, you should just understand and accept that humans are the weakest things, technically, in my point of view, some of the weakest things on the planet, due to the fact that humans don't develop or don't adapt very well. Humans are extremely weak physically wise compared to almost all the other creatures on the planet. Humans can die fairly easily to bacteria, infections, and any food that it takes in that it's unaccustomed to. Like, humans are dependent on actual other humans to create to produce the food and all that kind of stuff. If there was a complete blackout or something of the sort, humanity isn't going to survive that well. And for the few humans that do survive, it's only because they had an abundance of certain resources that allow them to continue surviving. So humans are the
And
weakest.
the knowledge to access those resources and utilize them in a way that's... Yes.
For an example,
I mean, I'm sorry, but I have studied for years and years evolution, animal behavior, animal adaptation, ecology, plant biology, animal conservation. Right, so I've got a wide coverage of man's interaction with the animal kingdom and man's ability to survive in those. Wherever man has been, just go to Africa, just go to the they are superior in every way. They've absolutely mastered their environment. Like, we're not looking at traditional tribes that can hunt down a kudu, right, in the middle of the day, right? A kudu, like bigger than a cow, right, that can run faster than a car, right? And you can have a little African guy, right, who seems, even to us big Westerners, are big hulky Westerners, right? They're like 5 foot and a fag butt, right? They seem tiny, but they're not inferior, right? They can survive days without food, right? They know how. They can forage what little they need to sustain themselves, and then they'll hunt down a kudu. A man will outrun a kudu, right, in the middle of the day, right? It'll take him a couple of hours to run it down, but by the end, it's completely exhausted. He just walks up to it, right, says a prayer to it in their way, and kills it.
How does he kill it?
This is not the most. How does he kill it? The animal's exhausted, right? So you're in the middle of the day. They track them, they find them, and then in the middle of the day, or just before, they'll start the hunt, right? And you go, this is crazy. It's the middle of the day, right? You're going to die of heat exhaustion. And he's like, no, mon frere. The kudu, right? The antelope is going to die of heat exhaustion. I am not. Right, and so he'll track it and he'll run after it.
How does
every time he sees it, he has a small spear. Right, the thing is exhausted on the ground; it cannot move.
So he has a tool.
He just walks up to it.
He has a tool.
He's a human being. He has a sharp stick. If you like that, do you want him to kill it with a rock? He could kill it with a rock. Yeah, but what's wrong with the tool? I'm not talking about the tool.
I'm pointing out that...
We're still talking about, right? Yeah, I know, but you're not expanding. You've got a human mind, right, who can outthink, right, outmaneuver, out-tactic the kudu, right, to the point where he can just walk up to it, right, whether it was a rock or a sharp stick, right, he's just going to be able to kill it. It can't do anything. Right? He's putting it out of its misery. It is going to die of exhaustion anyway. If he just stood there and looked at it, it would just die, right, but he'd have to wait several more hours, and it's probably not good for the meat. Right, so he kills it, right? But he does. But the tool making is like the least important thing that you've got there, right? The fact that he knows the time, the movements of the animals, the territory, right? The signs, right? All of this takes much more intelligence than making a sharp stick. Right?
Okay.
That is what beat the animal, not the sharp stick. So
Okay. So the mere
that little guy is like the fiercest thing on the in the African plains, right? He's the most terrifying predator.
I don't think I
Okay.
think we're viewing it very differently. It doesn't matter how
I
big
think
his
so.
brain is and how well he can observe an animal and be able to track it. The mere fact that the human body is incapable of withstanding trauma and
Dude,
all.
he just outran a kudu in the middle of the day, and you're saying he's physically inferior.
I'm not saying anything about the physical inferiority of the individual.
All right.
I'm saying even with all of that, the mere fact that our bodies are literally incapable of doing not even 10% of all the things that all the other creatures on the planet can do with ease makes humanity.
One versus all.
Pardon?
All right, but I can climb a tree. There's loads of animals that can't climb trees. I can swim. There's loads of animals that can't swim. I can dig, right? There's loads of animals that can't dig, right? Technically, in some ways, I can fly. Plenty of animals that can't fly, right? So as a human, you kind of go, well, you could take the animal kingdom as a whole and go, compared to the animal kingdom,
which is what I'm saying.
The humans just being one species, but we are the animal, right? In your sense, we are part of the animal kingdom. So you just there's no separation. But if you do separate it and take any one species, any one species, and we're mostly better than them, you can probably find a thing that they're much better at, or several things that they're much better at, right? But as a whole, the human would still be. But put that animal in this situation and that situation, the other situations, it would absolutely fail. The humans wouldn't, and we don't need to physically morph ourselves into that which is adapted to the environment. We can adapt ourselves through our behavior, through our observation and knowledge of the environment, far better, far more sophisticatedly, and far more successfully than any other animal. So that's why we're really amazing.
No.
Yeah, we're the most amazing species on the planet.
Okay,
we are absolutely, hands down, the most incredible animal on this planet, the most incredible living thing.
That is your opinion, but I'm saying you are great. You're
most
off by quite a bit.
Agree.
Okay, so yeah, and they have biases too. Unlike you guys, I'm not biased to humanity. Now, I would gladly look if I took you, like I'm a big god person, and I picked you up, and I threw you in the middle of the ocean. How long would you survive?
Depending on which ocean, but not long.
Okay, so if I took another creature, let's say a bird, or let's say maybe something that can swim roughly, like
if you took a chimpanzee and threw him in the middle of the ocean, he'd be dead. In fact, most animals, they're not going to do all well, which is even most animals in the sea don't do
I'm
well
pretty sure they're going to last a lot longer than a human can.
And just put it in a a bit longer than me, right? But if you put a lot of fish completely out of their environment and in the middle of the ocean,
but
because they're coastal fish, they're dead. There's nothing to eat. They die. They're starved. There's nothing. They're dead. Middle of the ocean, they're fucked. Pacific Ocean, they're double fucked. Like there's nothing there. Like
I'm just trying to point out
that death for everyone.
I'm trying to say that most animals are going to outlast humans in a random condition that they're placed in. So if I took a lion and I guess I could say I take a lion and I put it further up north where it's a little colder, and I did that to a human being without any kind of like fur or anything, who would last longer in, let's say, winter?
A lion or a human, a naked human, a naked human or a lion up north. I mean, like, how stupid does this human have to be? So, like, he's naked in the north. Like, can he make fire? If he's able to make fire, is he able to seek shelter? Like, I don't know. I mean, I still think I would still.
You would put your bet on the human. Interesting.
Rather than a lion completely out of its, like a lion or a human in Siberia in winter, like, don't know. It'd be closer than you think. I think though. Unless you're just like, I've taken a New York hipster who's like 5'4" and like 60 pounds or whatever it is in American weight, and I dropped him in Siberia and then a lion. I'm like, okay, fair enough. Like naked New York soy boy is going to die very quickly.
Okay. Anyways, we've gone way off topic because the fact that I'm trying to the only thing I'm trying to point out is without that knowledge of previous experience that people or your parents may have had, and they kind of like give it to you as experience and knowledge and all that kind of stuff. Without that, the human is not going to last very long, right? So
sure. But
so
then
that's what makes humans.
Wings and it's not going to survive very well. Like a human is very much like the whole reason humans take, 15 years to develop, 20 years to develop into an adult, right? Is because our adaptation, that which makes us successful, is a very long developmental process.
And hence the reason why there's an attachment with love that comes from that long-term period that you're with that individual, right? You develop more of a connection as you develop through time with that individual, right? So love does not prove any
have
god.
Attachments to individuals, but that's not the origin of love. No.
Wait. Okay. Yours. Okay. Then where does love come from? It's kind of funny we're stuck on love, but yeah, where does love come from?
Well, for the Christian worldview, I don't know if you're already aware, it's absolutely central on love. So God is love. Love is the answer to all these problems. So like the Hindus would say, the greatest aspect of your religion, your devotion to God, would be sacrifice. Now the Muslims would say the greatest aspect of your devotion to God would be submission, right? And the Christian will say the greatest aspect of your devotion to God is love, and it's absolutely central. And so love is a transmaterial, trans-space, trans-time, trans-rational, archetypical, free-floating rationale that we cannot escape, which we can see represented in forms, right? But in its essence, it's a true thing, right? It's not, oh, well, we needed life, Mother Nature, unconscious and as random as she is, right? But leads to, sort of Darwinian adaptive processes, created that which is a phenomenon we describe as love, but is really just chemical sense response reactions to help enforce behaviors.
That's the same thing with humans.
Of a child.
That's the same thing.
Yeah, but you don't actually need love for that. Like animals can do things instinctively without an aspect that we would call love, right?
Yeah, so can humans.
Well, humans can be animal. Yeah, of course.
Humans are animals.
When we see a human acting like an animal. Well, we don't often say that we are we? We can say biologically we're the same as mammals, but we don't like to say that we are animals.
Well, that's not me. I consider humans to be animals.
An animal. That guy likes Trump. What an animal. So we use animal as mostly as a derogatory, mostly as a lower state, not a higher. So
humans aren't higher than animals. Okay, so
sorry?
Okay, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I was saying. So then if love is just spontaneous all of a sudden, like you're saying, and it's coming from a god.
Not spontaneous.
It's not spontaneous. Oh, my apologies. Okay, where does it come from then?
It's universal, right? It's a universal aspect of reality, and it comes from God. Yeah.
How do you explain that?
How do we explain what love is?
No, how do you explain it comes from God and it's a universal thing?
Right, well, God is universal, right? And we understand he is love because love would be the explanation of a creative God, right? A God that creates love seems to be the answer to that. Like you go,
seems to be the answer, but it's not. Okay, you're making these assumptions and you're attaching it to it, but it's not a undeniable fact here.
What better reason would God have to make his creation?
Probably because there wasn't one to begin with, and we're just
well,
a result of
if we move beyond
circumstances.
that, we've accepted that there may be a rational reason for thinking that God, an ultimate creative mind, created this universe. So we got there.
Okay,
right?
okay.
I'm not saying you agree with it, but you're